Welcome back to The Explainer. It is absolutely great to have you here. Today, we're looking into a genuinely fascinating philosophical text written by Shufang on July 22, 2024. It's a piece that really challenges us to rethink our entire existence. We're talking about exploring what it takes to transition from a grounded, earthly state of being into something entirely celestial. The title of the source text honestly says it all. The transformation of life requires a complete metamorphosis. It's a pretty bold claim, right? But the way the author builds this argument is just so thought-provoking.
Okay, let's dive into this. When you hear the phrase a leap in life, and we're talking life with a capital L-I-F-E, what actually comes to mind? We aren't just talking about getting a promotion at work or, adopting a new morning routine. The source material asks us to consider a complete, fundamental upgrade to our very state of being. We are talking about changing the core form of who we are. It's a massive, abstract concept. So to make it accessible, the author anchors this whole idea in something we can all easily visualize.
Section 1. Nature's Leap in Life. Profound Transformation. To start, the author uses some incredibly vivid imagery from the natural world to ground these deep philosophical concepts.
The text basically anchors its entire philosophy on a single, powerful word: metamorphosis. But notice how it's defined here. It isn't just described as your standard biological process. It is explicitly defined as a profound leap in life. It's a complete transition from one distinct form to a completely different one. To undergo metamorphosis isn't just to grow up or get bigger. It is to become something entirely new.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we mean. Think about the caterpillar. Its entire reality consists of crawling in the dirt, completely limited by its physical form, just inching along the ground. But then a metamorphosis occurs, and suddenly you have the butterfly. It's no longer bound to the dirt. It is dancing freely among the mountain blossoms. This is the exact imagery nature perfectly models for us to show what a true leap in life looks like. It's a total shift in reality. But the author doesn't just stop with insects.
Section 2. The Dandelion Anomaly. A marvel of nature. Let's transition to a fascinating real-world observation the author made at the Lifechanyuan International Family's North American retreat. So, the author shares this anecdote. The retreat's grasslands and slopes were just completely covered in dandelions. Now sure, a sea of gold is beautiful at first, but the author notes that once they turn into that white fluff, they become a huge nuisance. Those little parachute-like seeds drift everywhere and stick to all the window screens. Well, on a trip to a place called Bella Coola, the author noticed that for an entire hour's drive, there wasn't a single dandelion in sight. It prompted a very specific wish. How wonderful it would be if our retreat could also be free of dandelions. And that sets the stage for a real natural marvel.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the specific transformation the author claims to have witnessed upon returning. According to the text, the dandelions lining the paths to the cabins of the retreat actually underwent a metamorphosis. They began to change, and not just into some other kind of weed, but into plantains. The contrast is wild. You have the dandelion, which was just this fluffy nuisance, and then you have the plantain. The author cherishes the plantain. It has so much higher value, medicinal seeds, and the author even fondly recalls gathering edible plantain leaves in the spring to make a tangy dish. It's truly a miraculous metamorphosis.
Section 3. The Human Metamorphosis. Reach a celestial state. This marvel of nature actually offers a direct revelation from the Tao for humanity.
The core thesis of the entire source text is this: if a caterpillar can become a butterfly, and if an annoying weed can transform into a highly valuable, nourishing plantain, then people too can undergo a metamorphosis. We are not just stuck the way we are. The author insists that every metamorphosis signifies a leap in life, meaning humans are entirely capable of upgrading their own state of being to reach a celestial state. But how do we actually pull that off?
Section 4. 6 Words of Wisdom. The Path to Upgrade. The author outlines a very specific mechanism for achieving this human transformation.
For humans, the text states that this celestial metamorphosis requires only these 6 words of wisdom: unselfish, selfless, free from attachment. That's it. The author doesn't give us a complicated 10-step program or some intense physical regimen. The leap from earthly to celestial is entirely psychological and spiritual. It requires a complete shedding of the ego. I really want you to take a second and reflect on these 3 distinct concepts. They are so simple to read, but they represent a monumental shift in how you navigate the world.
So the crucial point is how perfectly this maps back onto the natural transformations we looked at earlier. Just like the grounded caterpillar versus the dancing butterfly, we have two distinct states of being for humanity. You've got the typical human state, completely defined by self-centeredness, the ego, and heavy attachment to the physical world. And then, contrasted against that, the celestial state, defined by unselfishness, selflessness, and a profound detachment. The text argues that when someone successfully reaches that celestial mindset, they have essentially achieved the exact same metamorphosis as the dandelion turning into the plantain. They are totally upgraded.
Section 5. Living the celestial life. Beyond the ordinary. Let's talk about the ultimate result of mastering those 6 words of wisdom. This is perhaps the absolute most important takeaway from the author's message. Reaching this celestial realm, it isn't about dying and going off to some afterlife. It is about embodying this truth right now in this physical world. The text makes it incredibly clear that those who live unselfishly, selflessly, and without attachment are already living a celestial life. They have literally transcended the ordinary human experience. In fact, the author specifically notes that many members of Lifechanyuan currently embody this exact truth in their daily, waking lives today.
Which brings us to our final thought. The source text lays out such a clear path from crawling in the dirt to dancing freely among the blossoms. It defines the human ego as our ultimate barrier and selflessness as the key to a celestial upgrade. So the question this all ultimately poses to us is this: are you ready to shed your attachments and take the leap? It's a massive, provocative thought to evaluate your own ego against. Thank you so much for exploring this explainer with me today. Keep seeking, keep learning, and I really hope this has given you a completely new perspective on what it means to transform.